The name of the lesson is Nothing Ever Happens. Samira and her friends were walking home from school together. Annie Mary was walking along the top of a wall. She held her arms out like a circus acrobat. "Can you come round to my house tonight?" she said. "My brother Dave bought me a new game on Saturday. It's great." "Okay," said Susan and Mandy together. "I can't come," said Samira. "I have got to go to the shop tonight and help fill up the shelves." "What about your brother?" said Susan. "Doesn't he ever help?" "Adnan always puts things in the wrong places," said Samira. "I think he does it on purpose." "You are lucky," said Mandy. "I would like to work in a shop like your dad's. Imagine all those sweets." "You wouldn't really," said Samira. "It's very boring. Nothing ever happens." "It would if Mandy was there," giggled Annie Mary. "She would eat so much she wouldn't be able to get out of the door again." Mandy pushed Annie Mary off the wall, and they all laughed. "I must hurry," said Samira. "I promised I would go straight from school." "I will walk round with you," said Susan. "And we can do our homework together in the back. You can help me with the maths." In the shop, Samira's mom was already filling up the shelves. She turned and smiled at them. Her dad was behind the counter, counting the cash from the till. So Susan and Samira went through the curtain door into the back shop. They spread their books on a corner of the table, and Samira went to get some biscuits. Her dad came through from the shop. "Before you start," he said, "would you like to check this money for me and make sure it's right?" He put a bag of 10-pence piece on the table. "We will count them into pounds," said Susan, and she tipped out the coins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They started to count the money and put it into piles. "That's a funny looking one," said Samira, lifting out one of the coins. It was badly bent and dented round the edge as though someone had tried to break it. "It's all right," said her dad. "The bank will take it. Put it in with the others." The girls finished counting and handed the bag back. Samira brought 2 glasses of orange squash, and they settled down at the table with their books. They had been working quietly for a little while when suddenly there was a noise in the shop. Samira had heard the bell above the door ring. She knew that someone had just come in. "Drop it!" she heard a man shout. "And don't try anything funny." Samira and Susan looked at each other. "Shh," said Samira, and tiptoed over to the door. Through the curtain, she saw a man with a gun standing in the shop. Another young man had come round behind the counter and taken the bag of money from the till. Samira's father was standing with an arm round her mother, watching them. "Phone the police," whispered Susan. "Can't," hissed Samira. They would hear me through the curtain. She watched as the man behind the counter stuffed all the money into a large bag. "Is that all?" he snarled. His voice sounded strange. Like the other thief, he was wearing a mask. "That's the lot," said Samira's father. "There isn't any more." The young man pulled out the drawers behind the counter and tipped everything onto the floor. "Come on," said the other one, waving the gun. "That's all there is. Let's go." "Do you think that's a rail gun?" whispered Susan. "Shh," said Samira. The man behind the counter sat on it and swung his legs over to the other side. Samira saw his feet clearly. The shoes were blue and white. One had a white lace. The other lace was dark blue, as if it had been taken from another shoe. The bell rang again as the door opened and slammed shut behind the young men. Samira's father rushed through to the back room to phone the police. The detective who came round sat and listened and took notes. He asked if any of them could describe the young men. "They wore masks," said Samira's dad. "Who knows what they looked like?" "They were young and wore jeans and anoraks." "Not much help," said the detective. "A lot of people look like that." He turned to Samira and Susan. "Don't suppose you two saw anything," he said. "You were both in here, weren't you?" "I saw his feet," said Samira, "the one who took the money." She told the detective about the blue and white shoes with the different colored laces. "That's worth looking for," he said. "Anything else you can think of?" "Pity they were all coins. We could maybe trace pounds notes." "The 10-pence piece," said Susan. They all stared at her. It was bent with the marks round the edge. She said, "You remember?" "It's an idea," said the detective. "We will keep a lookout for anyone trying to hand one over." He put his notebook in his pocket and then stood up. "You wouldn't like to come with me in the car," he said. "Just drive round a few cafes. You never know, we might just spot them." Samira and Susan went with the detective. They drove slowly round the dark streets, past shops and cafes, looking in the lighted windows. An hour later, down a dark side street, they stopped outside a small cafe. The detective went in to buy some sweets for Samira and Susan. In the corner, a young man sat with his feet on a chair watching him. Another was playing with a Space Invaders machine. He stopped and thumped the machine. "Give me another 10-pence, he said, turning to his friend. "That one's got stuck in the machine. It was bent or something. The detective turned to look at them. The young man, with his feet on the chair, was wearing blue and white shoes. One of the shoes had a white lace. The other had a blue lace. There was no doubt about it. These men were the ones who had been in the shop. He walked slowly back out to the car and over his radio called for more police. Within minutes, the two thieves were in the back of a van and their way to the police station. Samira's brother Adnan was quite annoyed when he came home that night. I missed all the fun, he moaned. Nothing ever happens when I am here. Maybe that's because you are never here, laughed Samira.